for his life after being shot in the head. Deputy William Gentry responding to a call about a cat being shot when the suspect pulled the trigger in Lake Placid.
We would just ask that you continue to pray for Deputy Gentry, and hopefully that will give him the strength to pull through this.
The gunman, identified as 69-year-old Joseph Abels, is under arrest. He's a convicted felon with a history of violence towards police. Gentry is a 9-year veteran of the force and serves with his brother, who is a detective. At least 26 homes are destroyed as lava flows intensify from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. Just look at that brand new video showing molten rock spewing into the air on the Big Island. That hot lava also giving off poisonous gas and forcing 1,700 people from their homes. Scientists still don't know when the lava will stop or how far it will spread. A truck slammed into a Southwest Airlines plane overnight, just moments after landing at Baltimore Washington International Airport. The flight from Fort Lauderdale pulling into a gate when the ground's pickup truck crashed into it. 172 people were on board. No one was hurt, though. The truck driver's condition is still unclear. Today, First Lady Melania Trump will reveal her platform to help our nation's children. According to a spokesperson, she will concentrate her initiative on a range of issues such as social media, health and addiction, instead of tailoring it to a specific topic. The announcement is scheduled for 3 o'clock Eastern in the White House Rose Garden. And we will, of course, be watching.
Yeah, you can watch it here.
Yep.
Indeed. All right. Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up on this Monday, former Congressman Jason Chaffetz is going to join us live.
Plus, what country stars Lady Antebellum are saying this morning about this cringe-worthy performance of the national anthem.
Through the perilous fight, we're so gallantly we march.
The President of the United States, we can assert the same privileges other presidents have. I'm facing a situation with the President and all the other lawyers are, in which every lawyer in America thinks he'd be a fool to testify. Judge Ellis gave a pretty good indication that he might toss the case for government misconduct, that he might even have authority to conduct this investigation.
And that's Judge Ellis. Really made huge news on Friday. Rudy Giuliani doubling down. By the way, no questions about that from George Stephanopoulos. But he doubled down, did Rudy, on his calls to end the special counsel's probe as a federal judge deals a blow to Mueller's case. It's stunning. Fox News contributor and former Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz served as on the Oversight Committee, where he was chairman of the Reform Committee. All right, Congressman, how big a deal is this?
It's a real big deal because, look, the improbable election of Donald Trump is not probable cause to pursue him. They've got to follow evidence. They got to follow, the truth. But the question is, what is it that started this initial probe? And it's become so far and so wide for Judge Ellis to push back on this and say, show us the scope memo. They've got to provide that. They won't provide it to Congress, but they've got to provide it to the judge.
In layman's terms, the scope memo is, just tell me what your mandate is. What did Rod Rosenstein give you and tell you what to do? So they say, we're not going to give it to you. And they go, we're going to give it to you, but we're going to redact it. The judge goes, no, you're not going to redact it. Give it to me. Come back here with the scope memo. And then something else happened on Friday and was ruled on Saturday. They came out and said, you know what, with that whole Russian troll farm, when they handed out all those indictments, I guess they didn't think these people were going to fight back. So one of them is Concord Management Consulting. And they said when they started fighting back, Mueller's team asked for a delay. And Judge Dabney Frederick goes, no, not going to delay. I'm not going to give you a reason. Just go do it. Present your case. So they're getting a little bit of pushback finally, and it's not from a pundit on this channel.
Well, look, they're filing charges, and then they come up to their hearing and they say, well, we're not ready yet. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the average person. And Judge Ellis, I love the fact that he's pushing back. You don't get unfettered access to go surf anywhere and every place. You pursue the truth, you pursue justice, but you do that through facts and evidence, and let that be where you go, not just, hey, let's go, Donald Trump, this is your life. Let's go look at every single aspect. You have to have probable cause.
And Chairman, finally, that's what leads most legal experts to say there's no way the president should sit with Mueller. And if pushed, he shouldn't, if subpoenaed, he still shouldn't show. Let the courts deal with it. Now you understand.
Yeah, look, I think most people think that, but I think Donald Trump also does things differently than anybody else, and I think in his heart of hearts he wants to sit down, he wants to make his case, and he wants to explain why he doesn't believe that there's any sort of collusion whatsoever.
Chairman, thanks so much for getting up with us.
Thanks. Good morning.
All right, 10 minutes before the bottom of the hour. Coming up straight ahead, Facebook just unveiled a new feature helping terrorists become friends. Isn't that wonderful? And no one saw President Trump coming. So what did everyone miss? Our next guest went straight into Trump country to find out. And these are a series of still pictures. And that's me.
We're back with some headlines, starting with a Fox News alert. Moments ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin sworn in for a fourth term. The ceremony coming after a weekend of violent protests. 1,600 people are reportedly under arrest. Putin won his election in a landslide victory. He's been in power as the president or the prime minister since 2000. Also breaking overnight, a sign of unity between the U.S. and Israel. U.S. Embassy road signs going up in Jerusalem ahead of next week's opening. President Trump recognized the city as Israel's capital late last year. Steve?
Thanks, Ainsley. From day one, President Trump promised hope for the forgotten men and women of the United States.
The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before.
In their brand new book, The Great Revolt, Inside the Populist Coalition Reshaping American Politics, the authors dig into the rise of President Trump and why voters love him. Co-authors Selena Zito and Brad Todd join us live here in the studios. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
All right, so Selena, the experts got the whole election wrong in 2016, and they continue to get it wrong regarding who voted for him.
That's really important. There's this movement going on, and we're still not listening to what it's saying to us. And that's sort of the important part of this book, is that it takes readers, not only reminds them who these voters are and the different archetypes that make up the coalition, but how they are impacting the country and the world beyond the ballot box.
Sure. And Brad, when you look at the people who voted for Donald Trump, now President Trump, what the experts got wrong was they didn't understand why the people in the Rust Belt counties who voted for Barack Obama, why they would ever vote for the Republican Donald Trump. But they did.
No question. When Bill Clinton won re-election in the 90s, he won 1,500 counties. When Hillary Clinton ran and won the popular vote, she did so winning less than 500 counties. And a lot of these places if you look at Ohio and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, are places where dozens of counties flipped from Obama in 2012 to Donald Trump in 2016.
All right. In your book, you've got different names for some of the demographic groups. For instance, rough rebounders, King Cyrus evangelicals, Rotary reliables. Let's start at the top. Rough rebounders. Who are they?
Those are the voters that have had a setback in life, either whether it's a tragedy in the family, an economic setback, they've lost their job. And those were the voters that went to Donald Trump pretty darn quickly because they saw in him someone who made a comeback and someone who was able to land on their feet. And they just rallied around him very quickly.
King Cyrus evangelicals?
Well, a lot of people have noted that evangelicals supported Trump, but that started even in the primaries. It really was a very pragmatic vote. They didn't find a lot in sort of personal background in common with Donald Trump, but they found shared priorities.
Rotary reliables, the last group we're going to talk about.
These are the voters, these are regular Republicans who lived in suburban counties that if they lived in counties that were, everyone was like them, everyone had this sort of same college education, they didn't vote for Trump. But if they lived in counties where there was a mixed economic situation, they went for Trump, and they went for Trump strong, along with the uncollege educated voters.
Okay, so that's a look back. What's going on right now, if you watch all the other channels, you know that they're probably right now doing a bulletin on Stormy Daniels. How much does Stormy Daniels and that saga play into the loyalty that these people invested in Donald Trump?
Well, we didn't hear stories about scandal on the road and talking to Trump voters in the Rust Belt. Instead, voters,
they care?
They tend to think this is about them, not about the soap operas going on in Washington and New York. And if you didn't see this election coming, we hope this is the book for you. You know, if you didn't see what's happened with Dick's Sporting Goods and some of the other commercial brands who've sort of made bad decisions regarding this coalition in the last year, we think this book's for you too. I think you might learn something about it.
But if you watch the other channels, and you can see people on this channel as well who say, look, the people who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, they've got an eye full, they've had it up to here with him, they're going to flip. Do you buy that?
I haven't seen that evidence of that, a wholesale evidence of that. If anything, I've seen a strengthening and more of a coalescing around him, but also around themselves. I mean, Donald Trump was the result of this election. It wasn't the cause, and this is the first book that actually takes a look at the people who put him into office and what they're going to do next.
Excellent. That's what we all want to know. The book is terrific. It is called The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition Reshaping American Politics. Brad and Selena, thank you very much. Great job. All right. Meanwhile, the phrase "In God We Trust" now under attack by some Democrats.
I'm wondering if Senator Hall would feel the same if students walked in and instead of the word God, the word Allah.
I don't want that motto on our money. I don't want it in our public schools.
Our friend Dan Bongino all fired up on this one. He's on deck next live from Florida. Plus, one grandmother had never fired a gun before until somebody tried to break into her house.
Kill him before he killed me. I hope I taught him and the rest of them a lesson. Stay the hell out of people's house.
I'm wondering if Senator Hall would feel the same if students walked in and instead of the word God, the word Allah welcomed students to their school.
It's the God who spoke against money, and the money I carry in my wallet has to say, "In God we trust." I think that's offensive.
Exactly.
Wow.
How long have I been saying that?
Let's bring
That makes
in
total sense.
Dan Bongino. He's the former NYPD officer, former Secret Service agent, host of the Dan Bongino Show to talk about this. Dan, you have Senator Dan Hall and the one you just saw there who said it was offensive, Senator John Marty. This is in the state of Minnesota, and they're mad because "In God We Trust" is now going to be, well, there is a Republican senator who sponsored legislation to put "In God We Trust" back in the schools. These guys are saying, these two Democrats, exactly, that we are offended by it. We don't even want it on our money.
Yeah, I think in the stupid Olympics of comments, these guys get the gold. They can share it, actually. They can share the we'll have two of them on the medal stand up there getting the gold medals around in these dopey Olympics. I don't get it. I mean that. I think usually I have a pretty good grasp on the stupidity of the radical left. And let me be clear, honestly, I'm not talking about all Democrats. My church is full of Democrats who love their God and love their country. But the radical far left clearly does not want competition with the government. So they're in this never-ending battle against religion and God, and I just don't understand what they think they're getting about. Do they think people out there, churchgoers, people who love their God, love their religion, are going to take this lying down? I don't understand. Of course they're going to fight back at the election booth and ideologically. I mean, this is just an absurd strategy.
Dan, what do you mean they don't want to have the competition from the church?
Well, here's the thing. If you're a far left radical, like you need people to be surgically attached to the government for their money, for their health care, for their kids' education. Someone said to me once, there's no power in yes for the government. Meaning the government has to be able to tell people no for everything. That way you can come to them for permission, right? They don't want competition. The idea of big R rights granted by God, the right to defend yourself, the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, literally from our founding documents, that's competition for the radical left. They don't want that. They have to detach you from God at every opportunity, hence this never-ending battle against religion. This is going to blow up on them if it hasn't already. Big time, though.
All right. Just to clarify, Senator John John Marty is the one who's offended by this, and Senator Dan Hall is the Republican who wants this in our schools.
Okay, now let's move on
sorry.
to another thing. Same guy, same issue. Nothing to do with the game itself. Let's talk about what happens before the game. Let's talk about the NFL and the kneeling policy. We know how it's hurt business, it hurt ratings, and it caused a national dialogue, and the president's been right behind it because he's offended by it, like a lot of us. So the NFL has decided to leave it up to the individual 30-plus teams in the league to decide on their own national anthem policy. I don't mind this. I feel as though these free agents, if you go to the Patriots, you're standing. If you go to the San Francisco 49ers, you do whatever you want. So when you figure out what team you want to be drafted on, if you don't want to go to that team, go to some other team. But here's the policy of my team. I don't have a problem with this. Do you?
No, I don't have a problem with it at all. But if I was an NFL owner, I mean, this is, you want to talk about like really silly business decisions. If there were a book like How to Destroy Your Business in 12 Simple Steps, step number 1 would be, watch what the NFL did, allowing people to kneel on the field. I would fire every one of these guys. Listen, is there going to be blowback from the radical far left? Of course, there's blowback for everything. But that's usually a couple kids in mommy's basement with their Twitter, making them seem like they're more important than they are. The real Americans out there that watch the NFL, that love the sport, I mean, guys like me who don't watch it anymore, were deeply offended by this. If they fired every single one of these guys, they might actually get some of their audience back. I like the decision, but, I tell you, I was at the NRA convention in Dallas, and you'd be surprised, Brian. Well, maybe you wouldn't. I spoke to probably thousands of people this weekend, and the NFL is still a big issue with them, and I don't mean it in a good way. They were really upset.
Well, it's not really a decision. They're really kind of punting on it. Hey, we don't want to decide. Everybody else figure it out.
But you know why? Because the union is standing in the way, and the NFL can't even pretend as if they're making the final decision on Park Avenue.
Negotiate.
Right. You would think it.
The
NBA did. But the NFL just can't work this out. It's unbelievable.
All right, Dan, thank you very much
Thanks,
for joining us today from Palm City down in beautiful state of Florida.
You got it, guys.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for you. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good Monday morning to you at home as well. Let's get you caught up on some news we're following. An urgent manhunt intensifying for whoever stabbed an Air National Guardsman in a fit of road rage. A driver killing 24-year-old Corey Harder and leaving him for dead after a fight on a Missouri highway. His family now pleading for answers.
He did a tour over in Iraq, and he was in Qatar. He loved everyone. He would help anybody. Please, if you know anything, don't just let him be a number. Please come forward.
Take a look at your screen. Police are hoping that this picture of Harder's truck could lead to more tips. It's unclear why the men were fighting. Facebook under fire, accused of helping terrorists connect with each other. A report by the nonprofit Counter Extremism Project claims the Suggested Friends feature allows extremists to find one another and recruit new members around the world. One researcher says they were bombarded with pro-ISIS friend suggestions after connecting with one extremist. Facebook says it is aggressively working to remove terrorist content. A 70-year-old grandmother takes matters into her own hands and shoots a man breaking into her home. Maxine Thompson grabbing her gun when she heard the crook shatter her window in Philadelphia.
Kill him before he killed me. That's what was going through my mind. I hope I taught him and the rest of them a lesson. Stay the hell out of people's house.
Thompson is the mother of a police officer and had never fired a gun before. The suspect is under arrest and in the hospital. Country band Lady Antebellum didn't own the night at the NHL playoffs. The trio messing up the national anthem before the Nashville Predators took on the Winnipeg Jets.
We're so gallantly we watch. We're so gallantly swing.
Yeah, you heard that right. The group taking their mistake in stride, tweeting, quote, "Well, we're human too, y'all. We're still rooting for you Preds. Hashtag Smallville." By the way, the Preds lost 6-2 to the Jets, but that was pretty ugly. Not going to lie.
Welp. Not good.
No.
All right. Thank you very much.
Pretty embarrassing for them. They all had they were singing different versions.
I know it. Unlike Janice Dean, who sings the national anthem every morning.
Well, she can
Get
do
to
both.
it.
She's a Canadian.
Oh my gosh, I can do both. But during the commercial break, how's that?
How was the Derby?
The Derby was amazing. I feel like I want to wear a hat every single day.
Really?
I
It's
love
America.
the Kentucky Derby hats. Amazing. And you know what? Coming up during the show, we're going to have the co-owner of Justify, the horse that won. And did you know that I trained with the jockey, Mike Smith? It's incredible. We'll show you more video and we'll show you pictures and we'll talk to Saul Kuman coming up. Past 24 hours, that storm system that brought a mutter to the Kentucky Derby yesterday, it's out of here. Quiet weather for much of the country today. We have a slight storm system across the northern Rockies and the northern plains. Otherwise, a good-looking forecast for most. Beautiful 75 here in New York. Very warm across the south. 103 in Phoenix. They're going to set some records. So excited. The Derby, one of my favorite events to cover. Thank you, Fox and Friends, for sending me there.
Right.
You did great.
Indeed.
It looked so beautiful. It was amazing.
There you go. All right,
Came
Jamie.
off the Fox and Friends credit card. Hopefully we'll be able to pay the balance this month. All right.
All that bourbon.
All right, we'll talk about that. 18 minutes before the top of the hour, Rosie O'Donnell loves liberals so much, she donated 5 different times, using 4 different names. I don't think that's allowed. Dinesh D'Souza served 8 months in confinement for doing not even the same thing, but half that. Is there a double and triple standard there? We're going to ask him next.
Liberal comedian Rosie O'Donnell is being accused by the New York Post of making illegal campaign donations to at least 5 Democratic candidates. The Post alleges that she gave a combined $5,400 in contributions over the legal limit. Filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza, author of that book right there, The Big Lie, was charged in 2014 for an illegal contribution and joins us now with reaction. Good morning, Dinesh.
Good morning.
Good morning. So what is your reaction to this? The Rosie O'Donnell gave Doug Jones $4,700, Connor Lamb $3,006, which is an odd number. The limit is $2,700. What's your reaction?
Well, it seems clear from what we know that Rosie broke the law, and she broke the law 5 times. So it's, in a sense, an egregious violation. Now, what makes it particularly sneaky on her part is that she used 4 different names and 5 different addresses. So it seems clear that she knew what she was doing and she was trying to cover her tracks. Now, normally if these offenses occur a single time, particularly when there's no corruption involved, they don't prosecute them. But they do prosecute repeat offenders, and it seems clear that Rosie is, in this sense, a repeat offender.
Well, they did convict you, and you did this one time, a fifth of the amount that Rosie did allegedly. So you served 5 years probation, 8 months in a community confinement center, and you had to pay $30,000. You gave $20,000 to this New York Senator Wendy Long. Now, I'm going to read you Rosie's response, and I do have. She's saying basically they should have known. Let me read you what she said. Can we put that up on the screen? She says, I was not choosing to overdonate. If $2,700 is the cutoff, candidates should refund the money. I just donate assuming that they do not accept what is over the limit. Now, at first when I read that, I thought, well, we're supposed to know the law, and you can't blame someone else when you do something wrong. But then when I thought about you giving $20,000, did you not know the rules? Did you not know that the limit was $2,700?
Well, here's the thing. In Rosie's case, she seems to be a habitual giver to campaigns because she's giving to multiple campaigns. In my case, it was a college friend of mine running. I had never made a political contribution before, so I had no intent to break the law. But in either case, the point is that you exceed the campaign finance limit, and the law is the law, whether you actually know it or not. I think in my case, a Congressional Oversight Committee has my file, and it very clearly red flags me as a conservative who made a movie critical of the Obama administration. So the FBI, which uncovered this, was clearly signaling to Obama and to the Holder Justice Department, hey, this guy's a political enemy, let's prosecute him. So what's interesting is that my case is quite clearly a political hit. What's going to happen to Rosie is going to be a very interesting question of political equity, because remember, in justice, it's not just a matter did you break the law, it's a matter of whether other people who broke the law, who are in a similar situation, get similar treatment.
Yeah, it would not be fair if she didn't have to serve the same amount of time that you did, if not more, if she did it 5 times. Thanks so much, Dinesh, for if she actually is convicted of this. Thanks so much, Dinesh. We appreciate it. President Trump has 5 days left to decide if he wants to keep the Iran nuclear deal. And it turns out John Kerry is working extra hard to save his creation. New questions about his shadow diplomacy at the top of the hour. Plus, Todd Pyro goes skydiving, kind of, using the same type of wind tunnels that our military trains in. You're going to meet the veterans behind it all next.
Hiding from the world with the broken wing, but you better